Cricket has become this massive global business, right? We're talking billions of dollars. And that raises a huge question, one that kind of hangs over everything. With all that cash and all that power flying around, who is really in charge of the sport's future?
Okay, so to really get a sense of the scale we're dealing with, just look at this number. Over £1 billion. That's not the value of a league, oh no. That was the price for just one broadcast deal for the IPL. And that was way back in 2018. I mean, when that kind of money is on the table, immense power comes right along with it. This is way beyond just a sport now. It's an absolute financial juggernaut.
And, that explosion of cash has, unsurprisingly, led to some pretty sharp criticism. This quote here really nails the central tension, doesn't it? The idea that the actual meaning of cricket is getting lost. So what happens when the game turns into a business that's all about making a profit? Does it risk losing its soul? Which brings us right back to the big question we're tackling today. In this high-stakes game of money and power, with fortunes being made, who's looking out for the sport itself? Who's making sure cricket doesn't lose? Who's the guardian of the game, making sure the spirit of cricket is more than just a nice-sounding marketing slogan?
All right, Section 1, Cricket's billion-dollar power play. And the subtitle is How the Game Changed Forever. So how did we get here? How did we get to this massive showdown for control? Well, it all comes down to how money completely flipped the game's power dynamics on their head, thanks to one tournament that basically rewrote all the rules.
So yeah, the rise of these shorter, super explosive formats like the IPL, it wasn't just about creating wealth. It fundamentally changed what cricket was. That slow, kind of traditional British-style game, it was pretty much replaced by this high-energy, fan-focused spectacle. We're talking cheerleaders, loud music, just non-stop action. This whole Americanized version, as some call it, brought in huge new audiences, and of course, even bigger money. And that shifted the entire center of gravity for the sport, right towards India and its incredibly powerful board, the BCCI. Okay, next up, Section 2, A System in Crisis. Subtitle, When Power Goes Unchecked. Because, well, this explosion of cash and glamour, it came with a pretty hefty price tag. It created a huge governance crisis at the very top of the sport. The old system just couldn't keep up. So before we really dive into all the problems, let's just set the stage. What do we even mean by good governance? It's not just about boring old rule books. In sports, it's about how power is used to set the mission, the rules, the whole shebang, for the good of the entire sport. Simply put, it's about making sure the people in charge are making decisions that help everyone, not just lining their own pockets or helping their own nation. Okay, so that's the ideal. But how did it stack up against reality? Well, this quote from journalist Sharda Ugra just says it all, doesn't it? She called it kitchen table kind of governance. I love that. Just imagine it, a super informal, behind-closed-doors system where massive decisions are made based on, hey, if we're happy with it, it's fine. Not what was actually best for the global game. And that kitchen table style, well, it led to a whole bunch of problems. I mean, look at these symptoms of the crisis. A total lack of transparency. We're talking board meetings, even the Constitution kept under wraps. Conflicts of interest were just everywhere. And unlike, say, FIFA, the ICC had zero external oversight. Nobody was watching the watchers. Then you had these accusations of the big, powerful boards basically bullying smaller nations, shutting down anyone who spoke up. All of it led to these totally inconsistent decisions that were all about serving the powerful few, not the sport. It wasn't just a mess, it was actually damaging the game's integrity. All right, Section 3, the ICC's own investigation. And the subtitle is The Wolf Report. Now, with all this criticism piling up and the system obviously in deep trouble, the International Cricket Council, the ICC, the sport's global governing body, they did something pretty remarkable. They decided to investigate themselves. And this was a huge moment. Back in 2012, with criticism coming from all sides, the ICC basically turned the spotlight on itself. They hired a team led by a guy named Lord Wolf to do a completely independent, top-to-bottom review of how they were running things. I mean, that's a pretty stunning public admission that, yes, something is seriously wrong here. And when the final report came out, wow. The opening line was absolutely damning. It pulled no punches whatsoever. It said, "Cricket is a great game. It deserves to have governance worthy of the sport. This is not the position at the present time." I mean, can you believe that? This wasn't some journalist saying this. This was the conclusion from their own independent investigation. So moving on to Section 4, a blueprint for reform. Subtitle: A Radical Vision for a New ICC. Because the report didn't just point out all the problems, no, it laid out this really clear, pretty radical blueprint for how to fix everything. It was a vision for a totally new ICC.
So let's look at how they wanted to reshape the board. This is where it gets really interesting. On the one hand, you have the old ICC board. Think of it like a private club. It was dominated by the 10 big full-member nations, each director there just to fight for their own country's interests. No independence, nobody with a global view. The result? Decisions were made for the good of a few powerful nations, not the whole sport. Now look at the proposed board. Total game changer. An independent chairman. Directors whose main job, their duty, was to the global game, not just their home country. And crucially, independent directors to bring in some impartiality. It was a fundamental shift in thinking.
And the whole plan really boiled down to 4 key steps to create a fairer game. Step 1, get an independent chairman to lead the whole thing. Step 2, add independent directors who actually have voting rights, so they're not just there for show. Step 3, scrap the old voting system and just make it one person, one vote. Simple, fair. And step 4, create a real senior ethics officer and a proper code of ethics to hold everyone accountable. You see, this wasn't just about moving a few pieces around on the board. It was about rebuilding the entire ship from the ground up.
And the goal of all this? It was simple, really. It was to break that cycle. Break the cycle of self-interest and all the conflicts of interest that had been undermining the ICC's authority for so long. The whole point was to turn the ICC from a members club for powerful nations into a true guardian of the global game. Okay, so Section 5, an unfinished match. Subtitle: A decade later, what has changed? Because look, it was a powerful vision, right? A comprehensive blueprint for a better future was delivered. The path forward seemed crystal clear. But that leads us to the big, final question: what actually happened? So here's the timeline. In 2012, this comprehensive blueprint for change lands on the ICC's desk. And today, well, that's the big question mark, isn't it? A decade later, the outcome is still a huge topic of debate. Sure, a few changes were made. They did get an independent chairman, for example, but a lot of the really big, radical ideas, they were either fought against or just plain ignored. It feels like that golden opportunity for a total overhaul just slipped away. And maybe this quote from journalist Jared Kimber is the perfect way to think about what's really at stake here. He says, it's our game. It's not their game. They are just cricket fans who ended up being there. I mean, that really recenters the whole conversation, right? It's this powerful reminder that the administrators, they're just temporary custodians. The game, the real game, belongs to the fans, the players, to all of us.
Which leaves us with one last big question. Who truly runs world cricket today? Is it the governors or is it the governed? In this ongoing battle for the soul of cricket, between these massive commercial forces and the actual spirit of the game, who's really in control? Is it the handful of people in boardrooms cutting the deals? Or is it the billions of us who watch it, play it, and love it? The answer, well, it's still being written every single day.